Imagine waking up one morning to find that your entire life has been turned upside down. Your legal status, your work permit, your sense of security, all gone. Now, this is the harsh reality that over 600,000 Venezuelans are facing right now, thanks to the Trump administration's decision to revoke their temporarily protected status, TPS. Hello, guys, and welcome back to our channel. Now, for many Venezuelans, this feels like a betrayal of the highest order because, as one Venezuelan lady says, during Trump's campaign, they were assured that he wouldn't touch documented immigrants like themselves, but now they're facing the very real possibility of deportation. More than 300,000 Venezuelans with TPS expiring in April 2025 are living in fear of being forced to leave. Now, another 250,000 with TPS expiring in September are facing a similar uncertain future. As one Venezuelan lady puts it, this is beyond betrayal. They used us. It's a sentiment that's echoed by many in the Venezuelan community who feel like they've been exploited and abandoned by the very people they trusted. Now, in this video, we'll explore the devastating impact of Trump's decision on Venezuelans with TPS and examine the broader implications of his policy shift. So with that said, let's take a closer look at this issue. I will be right back.
Beyond betrayed. They used us. They actually, during the campaign, and I don't want to make this political, but during the campaign, the elected officials from the Republican Party, they actually told us that it was not going to touch the documented people.
The Venezuelan migrants are starting to get deported, and this is why I quite feel bad for them, man, because the level of entitlement that these people have had, I have never seen in my entire life this level of entitlement. There's a video right now that I was tagged in, man, that was going viral of this Venezuelan dude that was talking. He was pretty much bragging about the fact that he came here, he's living for free, and he says, it's not my problem, it's not our problem, the fact that y'all bought into the scam and y'all stressed out because y'all gotta pay bills and y'all gotta do all this and y'all gotta work hard. Us, we didn't come here for that, man. We came here to live like we lived in Venezuela, man, where the government's gonna take care of us. And I'm like, first of all, there's no way in hell that back in Venezuela they were living as good as they're living here, right? But the point is that he was walking through New York City streets, bro, bragging about the fact that they give him a little red card, right, with $1,000 a month, right? They're paying for their rent, they're paying for everything pretty much, right? And he's living for free. He was bragging about the fact. The title of the video, he says 1 year living free in New York. Crazy, bro. But whatever, the point is that the enemy came for this dude, right? And then he came back talking about, I'm gonna sue you, I'm gonna sue New York, I'm gonna sue everybody, you're not gonna be able to mess with me. And I'm like, yo, these people are literally insane, bro. Like, I've never seen this level of entitlement for people who came from another country here, and it's like, give us everything, man, and if you don't, man, sue. Yo, he said he's gonna sue New York, man. Him saying he's gonna sue the state that's feeding him is crazy. That's how crazy these people are, man.
Imagine waking up to find that your legal status in the US has vanished overnight. This just happened. Hi, I'm Attorney Jay Francis. I am a U.S. immigration lawyer serving all 50 states. The Trump administration today has revoked TPS status for over 600,000 Venezuelans, stripping them of deportation protections and work permits. There are two different groups of Venezuelans affected by this new development. More than 300,000 with the TPS expiring in April 2025 now face terrifying reality of deportation in just 60 days. Another 250,000 with a TPS setting to expire in September of this year could also be forced to leave sooner than expected. Without a pending immigration case like marriage green card case or asylum application filed within 1 year of U.S. arrival, many will have no way to avoid expedited removal. This is life-altering decision. If you or someone you know is affected, now is time to act.
Trump has ended TPS for Venezuelans effective April 2025. This is breaking news, January 29th, 2025. This means that your status will end in April 2025 unless you file for asylum within 1 year of entering the United States or within 1 year of when the country conditions changed. If you did, you can still proceed on and stay in the U.S. to seek asylum in the United States. I will keep you posted.
Over 600,000 Venezuelans are in fear of getting deported after some news came out today. The Secretary of Homeland Security confirmed the news. She has rescinded an 18-month extension of temporary protected status, or TPS, for Venezuelans. President Biden granted the extension just days before leaving the White House. TPS is intended to help people in the United States who can't return safely to their countries. We spoke to an immigration attorney here in South Florida who says every Venezuelan who has TPS is safe until April or September.
Revoking temporary protective status for Venezuelan immigrants is both cruel and gives lie to the idea that they are only against illegal immigration. It is acknowledged that Venezuela is a very unstable country, and the people who fled Venezuela had good reason to do so. People like current Secretary of State Marco Rubio have in the past lobbied for that protective status. The good news for these people is pretty soon Venezuela may very well be more stable than the United States.
The Trump administration has decided not to extend temporary protected status for 350,000 Venezuelans that are in the United States. This means when their TPS expires April 3rd, 2025, they will not be allowed to renew it. We were waiting for today, February 2nd, to see what the Trump administration was going to do, because they have about 60 days prior to the expiration to decide whether or not they are going to extend TPS for those that are already protected under the 2023 designation. And it has now been decided that they are going to terminate the program. And it has been determined that those that have TPS that are set to expire on April 3rd, 2025 will not be allowed to extend it. There's another group of people that have TPS that was designated in 2021, and those people have TPS through September 10th, 2025. This is going to leave hundreds of thousands of people in the United States with no protected status, which means if they have a removal order, they will in fact be deported. They will not have TPS to protect them. A lot of them already have pending asylum cases. They also already have cases in front of the immigration court, and they have cases that have been administratively closed, because you are allowed to administratively close a case when you're on TPS in front of the courts. But it's definitely going to cause a lot of chaos and a lot of re-strategizing for these Venezuelans.
This is coming in about 4 or 5 minutes from me recording this. Trump just shut down a program that gives hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans temporary immigration status. The TPS was a program that was bipartisan that gave temporary immigration protections to dozens of immigrants. Basically, these protections were put in place for war-stricken environmental disasters and other dangerous things that migrants can't go back to. This also gave beneficiaries temporary immigration status and a working visa, but did not give them full immigration status. There's an estimate about 350,000 Venezuelans that are under this that came in under a couple years ago. About 2023, dozens of them are about to lose their temporary protection status, meaning that they will lose their work visa and their deportation protection. All these people are going to lose their protection around about spring. They lose it 2 months post. So a lot of deportations could be coming out of this. I'll do a breakdown on my Substack, on my other socials later today. I'll keep posting updates throughout the day.
On a rainy late Friday evening, Carmen, her husband, and her dog Miel walked out of the Asylum Seeker Help Center in Midtown.
Dios.
Hoping for a miracle from God, she says, that will help her stay in the United States following the end of her TPS. A program allowing a group of Venezuelans who came to this country in 2021 and before August 2023 with work permits and protection from deportation.
There's a large number of TPS holders who do have outstanding removal orders. As a result, they are low-hanging fruit in spite of the fact that they do not have, in their overwhelming majority, criminal issues. So what will ICE do? Are they going to move to deport these individuals? We don't really know.
Pix 11 News has learned from a worker close to the operation at this center that they have helped about 11,000 Venezuelans apply for TPS since 2023.
It's inhuman to even consider sending them back home to that dictatorship.
Eric Ronzo, who leads the New York City Venezuela movement, says the future of many of his compatriots is in limbo.
The 2023 is supposed to expire by April this year, whereas the 2021 is supposed to expire by the end of the year, October.
Meanwhile, Trump diplomatic envoy Richard Grenell posted this picture on X following his meeting with Venezuelan's President Nicolás Maduro. In addition to coming back home from Venezuela with U.S. detainees, Grenell had another instruction from President Trump.
To identify a place and ensure that repatriation flights of Tren de Aragua members, of Venezuelan nationals who have broken our nation's laws, will land in Venezuela.
Escaping Maduro's dictatorship, Carmen says, is the reason she left Venezuela, a country she says she cannot go back to.
My husband told me today to take my blood pressure medication. And I said, yeah, I need to. Because ever since December 31st of last year, I have been losing my mind. My blood pressure has been up. I think none of us actually celebrated New Year's Eve, have we? Because I don't think anybody was happy. Because we all felt the impending doom of Donald Trump becoming president. And we knew we had to say, I told you so. I told you so. To anybody that passed by, I told you so. Now he's talking about 600,000 Venezuelans. Their asylum status, I guess, is going to be taken away. That was under the Biden plan. So those people have to leave out of this country. There was an incident with a Puerto Rican family just because they were speaking Spanish. ICE don't even ask questions. They just take them. Trying the wrong one. Ooh, they trying the wrong one. And then just because they speak in Spanish, this is why discrimination should not happen. Racism should not happen. But because they spoke Spanish, took them. That must have been a little bit traumatic for them. But they're not the only ones, because there's plenty of people that are citizens that are being sent to the detention center, and then they sort it out whenever they feel like it. You guys are going to get sued every which way. And although you may have like the federal government involved, the DOJ or whatever, we still have these lower courts. You're going to have to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. And we know who they're beholden to, right? However, I got a feeling the Republicans are not going to play longer. I got a feeling people are going to get sick and tired of Trump's shit, because their constituents are going to come back at them. What the hell are you doing? What are you signing up for? Why are you doing our people wrong, especially in those red states in which they depend heavily on this Medicaid, Section 8, SNAP benefits, WIC. This is unbelievable. I just had to say my rants. I'm sorry, it's a soliloquy, but I am so done right now. But I'm going to tell you something. We are a community, and so we are going to have to learn how to reach out to each other. And even people that voted for Trump and realized their mistakes, and people that were third-party voters and realized their mistakes, we might have to bring them to the fold. And I'm still going to tell them, like, you found out. And I hope they realize that they have to listen to this message, because they did find out. Like, we are really bearing the consequences of their actions. But as long as they're putting the work in, then maybe we can build a bridge. I don't know. What do you think?
Now, the Trump administration has stepped up its attack on Venezuelans living in the U.S. under temporary deportation protections, revoking the right to stay of more than 300,000 people. Now, the move, first reported by the New York Times, comes as a 1-2 punch for Venezuelans who were already reeling from last week's decision to rescind an 18-month extension of TPS that had been introduced in the final days of the outgoing Biden administration. Now, reversing the extension was a blow that affected more than 600,000 Venezuelans living in the U.S. Now, Trump has targeted a subset of that Venezuelan immigrant community who entered the TPS program in 2023, obtaining the right to remain in the U.S. until at least April. Having revoked their protections, the Trump administration is giving that group of more than 300,000 Venezuelans just 60 days before they become vulnerable to deportation. Now, a further 250,000 Venezuelans who arrived in 2021 have TPS protections until September. Their position beyond that date must now be considered to be in severe jeopardy. TPS is a federal program designed to offer temporary shelter to those fleeing natural disasters or armed conflict. It offers a right to live in the U.S., but without a longer-term path to citizenship. Now, in the case of Venezuela, the program offered a lifeline for hundreds of thousands escaping political and economic hardship under the dictatorship of Nicolas Maduro. Now, the double blow of two successive cuts to the TPS program for Venezuelans has prompted cries of dismay from both Venezuela and the U.S. The Venezuelan opposition website El Pitazo said that the revoking of the Biden administration's 18-month extension fell like an atomic bee over this migrant community. Now, writing in the Miami Herald noted that Trump's move against Venezuelans targeted some of his most ardent supporters in the U.S., both voters and TPS holders. Buoyed by Trump and Florida legislators' headline rhetoric against Venezuela's dictatorship, Venezuela's exile community had overwhelmingly supported Trump in the 2024 U.S. elections. Now, Trump has long had TPS in his sights. In his first presidential term, he scrapped its protections for immigrants from El Salvador and Haiti. On Sunday, the Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, sporting a cowboy hat, appeared on NBC News Meet the Press to justify rescinding the protections, misreferencing the program as TPP. She said it no longer had credibility. Now, Noem parroted a line frequently used by Trump on the campaign trail, that the Venezuelan government had opened its prisons and mental health institutions and sent the occupants to the U.S. Now, she also said that folks from Venezuela who have come into this country are members of TDA, which is a Venezuelan crime network. Now, the Department of Homeland Security has identified 600 migrants in the U.S. who may have connections to the gang, a tiny fraction of the 600,000 with TPS status. Now, Venezuelan activist Beatriz Olavarria said that for some, returning would be almost excital. Many Venezuelans have fled amid brutal crackdowns on protests against the government and struggles for basic goods such as food and medicine. Some of those people that are here that have spoken about the situation in Venezuela on cameras and everywhere, they set foot in Venezuela and they'll be jailed. Olavarria told NBC6 South Florida. Now, the latest TPS revocation is part of President Donald Trump's ongoing effort to conduct mass deportations in the country, paging it of immigrants without permanent legal status. Trump pledged to target violent criminals in his campaign, but people with TPS have permission to be here and must pass criminal background checks to be eligible. Betrayed, we feel betrayed, more than betrayed, beyond betrayed, said Executive Director of the Venezuelan American Caucus in Doral, Florida, a South Florida suburb dubbed Dorozuela, for its large Venezuelan population. TPS holders are living a legal life in the United States. She said in a news conference on Monday, "We're not here because we came as tourists. We're here because we got kicked out from our country because there is a cruel dictatorship in Venezuela." Now, in November, the U.S. joined other countries in recognizing Edmundo Gonzalez as president-elect of Venezuela, based on election results showing he won a majority of votes. Incumbent President Nicolas Maduro, however, claimed victory. Now, the U.S. State Department reissued a do-not-travel advisory last September, warning U.S. citizens not to travel to Venezuela due to the high risk of wrongful detentions, terrorism, kidnapping, and arbitrary enforcement of local laws, crime, civil unrest, poor health infrastructure, among other things. The warning said shortages of gasoline, electricity, water, medicine, and medical supplies continue. Now, the TPS termination follows a meeting between Trump's envoy to Venezuela, Richard Grenell, and Maduro last week. Now, Grenell returned with 6 Americans detained in Venezuela. The two also discussed migration and sanctions. A Venezuelan official said it was willing to restart legal cooperation to extradite the TDA gang members back to Venezuela, while President Trump said on Truth Social on Friday that Venezuela had agreed to take back people who are deported. The Venezuelan government has not confirmed this. Now, the Homeland Security Secretary has the authority to end TPS, said Elizabeth Toffa, senior policy attorney and strategist for the Immigrant Legal Resource center. But she said there is need for continuity between administrations because people rely on the decisions to plan their lives. Many of these Venezuelans were told in January they had 18 more months and now find they only have about 2 months before they lose TPS status. She said, it's kind of whiplash for the same government to say in January, things haven't improved in Venezuela, we have to extend TPS, and then 2 weeks later to say actually things are absolutely fine in Venezuela. Now, Farrow from South Florida said her group is planning litigation. Trump targeted TPS in his first term and court battles ensued, with an appeals court ruling in 2020 that he could end TPS. Many TPS holders have been living in fear since Trump's re-election. We have finally come to the end of the video, but what do our viewers have to say? Share your thoughts, your views, your contributions as well in the comment section, and let's have a conversation there. Thank you for always watching, and see you in our next video as we bring you another video.